There is a certain kind of silence that only happens when a secret becomes too heavy to carry. It isn't just the absence of noise, but a tense, vibrating emptiness where honesty used to be. For the characters in H.G. Wells's novel, The Passionate Friends, that silence is the atmospheric pressure of the entire story. Rather than a sweeping romance, the book is a psychological study of a love triangle, a slow-burn exploration of the friction between stability and passion, and the wreckage left behind when those two forces collide. The story centers on Mary, a woman caught between two very different men, her husband, Howard, and her lover, Steven Stratton. On the surface, Mary's life is one of comfort and social standing. Howard is a man of reason, stability, and a certain predictable kindness. He provides the framework for a secure, respectable life. But beneath that surface, Mary is driven by a restlessness she cannot quite name or satisfy. Enter Steven Stratton. Steven represents the passionate element of the title. He is the catalyst for a volatile, intense connection that threatens to dismantle everything Mary has built. The heart of the novel isn't just the act of infidelity, but the psychological torture of the in-between. Mary finds herself unable to give up her affair with Steven, yet she is equally unable to fully abandon the security and affection she shares with Howard. She is trapped in a state of emotional suspension. Wells uses this triangle to examine a fundamental human conflict, the desire for the peace of a settled life versus the intoxicating, often destructive, pull of a passionate obsession. This brings us to the core concept of the book, the idea of passionate friends. The title is almost an oxymoron. Friendship usually implies a steady, supportive bond, while passion implies something that consumes and transforms. Wells is exploring the idea that our most intimate bonds are often built on a foundation of shared intensity, but that this very intensity is what makes those relationships so unstable. The passionate friend is someone who sees a side of us that the rest of the world, and even our spouses, never encounter. But that intimacy comes with a price. It creates a secret world that isolates the lovers from the rest of humanity. This leads into one of the most poignant themes in the book, the paradox of intimacy. We spend our lives trying to be known, trying to find someone who truly understands us, yet the very nature of being an individual means there will always be a part of us that remains private. Mary's struggle is the struggle of anyone who has ever looked at a partner and realized that they are essentially a mystery. She shares a life with Howard, but she shares her soul, or at least the most volatile parts of it, with Steven. She discovers that it is possible to love two people deeply and completely, but in entirely different ways, and that these two loves cannot coexist in the same space. There is also the theme of the erosion of the self. The book spends a significant amount of time on the way a secret life can fundamentally alter a person's character. As Mary navigates her double life, she doesn't just deceive Howard and Steven, she begins to lose her own sense of center. The tension of the affair, the guilt, and the constant negotiation between her two worlds create a psychological exhaustion. The decay here isn't physical, but emotional. It is the slow wearing away of a person's integrity and peace of mind. Watching Mary struggle is like watching someone try to hold two opposing magnets together. The energy required to maintain the facade is eventually more than she can bear. It is important to clarify the nature of this story, especially if you are familiar with the 1949 film adaptation directed by David Lean. If you have seen the film, you might expect a sweeping, cinematic romantic drama filled with high-stakes social scandal. While the film captures the essence of the triangle, the novel is the original source of this romantic conflict. Some might mistake the book for a quiet meditation on the soul, but it is very much a story about the affair, the infidelity, and the romantic triangle. However, Wells focuses less on the scandal in a social sense and more on the scandal within the mind. The novel is a psychological autopsy of a relationship, examining exactly how passion can become a prison. The narrative movement of the book is not a straight line, but a series of emotional oscillations. We see Mary move from the heights of passion with Steven to the depths of guilt with Howard, and then back again. Each shift reveals something new about the characters. Howard, who initially seems like a secondary figure, is revealed to be a man of surprising depth and genuine suffering. His realization of the betrayal isn't just a plot point, it's a study in how a stable identity can be shattered in a single moment. Stephen, too, is more than just a temptation. He is a man consumed by his own intensity, unable to find a middle ground between total devotion and total isolation. As we look at the structure of the book, we see a movement from the initial spark of passion toward a broader, more philosophical contemplation of the human condition. It starts with the electric chemistry of a forbidden connection and ends with a meditation on the cost of that passion. The characters move from believing they are the exceptions to the rules of love to realizing they are subject to the same timeless tragedies as everyone else. The passionate friendship serves as a mirror. Through her relationship with Stephen, Mary sees the parts of herself that are wild, impulsive, and hungry for experience. Through her relationship with Howard, she sees the parts of herself that crave safety, loyalty, and peace. The tragedy is that she believes she must choose one or the other, not realizing that the conflict itself is what defines her. In the end, The Passionate Friends is a book about the struggle to be seen and the struggle to be honest. It's about the beauty and the tragedy of human connection. It suggests that while we are drawn to others by powerful, almost magnetic forces, those same forces can blind us to the needs of the people we love. The novel posits that passion, while exhilarating, is often a form of blindness, a narrow focus that excludes the complexities of real, sustainable love. It is a sophisticated book that carries a heavy truth, that the people we think we know best are often strangers to us, and that we are often strangers to ourselves. It asks us to consider whether the intensity of a passionate love is worth the instability it brings, and whether the quiet affection of a stable partnership is enough to sustain a restless spirit. Most importantly, Wells suggests that the act of navigating these contradictions, the pull between the heart and the head, is the central struggle of being human. As the story reaches its conclusion, it doesn't offer a simple, happy resolution. Instead, it offers a reflection on the enduring complexity of the heart. It reminds us that love is not a solved equation, but a series of negotiations, mistakes, and rediscoveries. The passionate friends of the title are not just the lovers, but anyone who has ever dared to love with an intensity that threatened to consume them, only to find that the most enduring love is often the one that survives the fire.